parable of the wedding banquet. Jesus spoke to them again in parables, saying, "The kingdom of heaven is to compare with a king who prepared the wedding banquet for his son. He sent the servants to those who had been invited to the banquet to tell them to come, but they refused to come. Then he sent some more servants and said, 'Tell those who have been invited that I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle have been butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet.' But they paid no attention and went off, one to his field, another to his business. The rest seized his servants, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his army and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, 'The wedding banquet is ready, but those I invited did not deserve to come. So go to the street corners and invite to the banquet anyone you find.' So the servants went out into the streets and gathered all the people they could find, the bad as well as the good. And the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guest, he noticed a man who was not wearing wedding clothes. He asked, 'How did you get in here without wedding clothes, friend?' The man was speechless. Then the king told to the attendants, 'Tie him hand and foot and throw him outside into the darkness, where he will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are invited, but few are chosen.'" Dear friends, this is the text of yesterday read in the Christian churches. A terrible story, you might say, and I agree with you. Only a radical new method of reading parables has opened up the story to me. I will try to explain it to you in a few sentences. For centuries, we have been used to equating the figure of the king with God immediately. The king is God. But this is wrong and leads only into the dead end. A better word for parable is comparison. It is not an equation of God and the human king, an analogy, but it is a comparison, a contrast, even a contrast. On the one side is the human king and his logic of ruling and killing, as we heard. And at the other side is God, the King of heaven, who has a completely different logic, a logic of compassion and love and justice. And those who listen shall compare. Matthew says at another point, "You know that the rulers of nations abuse their rule, and that the great ones exercise unjust power over the nations. It shall not be so with you." The listeners 2,000 years ago knew their Bible, the Torah, by heart. They prayed the Psalms. They discussed the writings of the prophets. They sang the song of creation. They rejoiced over the story of liberation of slavery. Now, at the time of Jesus, the Roman occupation, the so-called Pax Romana, ruled. But this was not peace, but hunger and exploitation. the cruel logic of the kings of men and their henchmen. The parable read yesterday wants to take us on the side of God, on the side of mercy and love, and criticize very sharply the abuse of power at that time of Jesus and our time, this deadly logic. I encourage you to be on the side of God, on the side of mercy, on the side of love, and on the side of justice. Wherever you are blessed. Be a blessing.